I went in and everything was stripped from me.
Yeah.
And I didn't have literally anything. And when I thought that I lost everything, I realized that if I'm still breathing and I have my mind that I can control, that means everything.
Yeah, it means everything. It really does. Yeah.
Hello. Welcome to our first episode of How I Escaped Prison. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Andreea Parc.
And I'm Alexa Dumitru.
And today is August 5th, and you might ask why we chose to start our podcast on August 5th. But this day holds a special significance for me. August 5th, 1998 is the day I left Romania and came to the US. August 5th, 2021 is the day I was released from prison. And today, August 5th, 2024 is
Another new beginning.
another beginning, the start of a new journey together with you. And we hope to be a long and fruitful one.
Yeah. So today we just want to take a moment to introduce ourselves and to, give you some more background about us and who we are and what we do.
And I chose for this episode, the first episode, to be called Breaking the Chains, Discovering My Mental Prison. So basically, how did we realize that we are in a mental prison? And this will be interesting for our listeners to pose and ask themselves, yourself, the listener, the question, how?
Right. And as I think we all know, the hardest part of solving a problem is actually knowing what the problem is, right? So somehow we were lucky in a way that we were forced into growth and into, this new chapter of our life. We were forced into it just by the circumstance. And I think in that way we were super lucky. Otherwise, I don't think that we would have been able to do it on our own. So we weren't able, but that it was just much easier to be forced into it. And I know that's not how it should be done, but we are here to hopefully, give you some inspiration and to not be so intimidated by change.
And realizing that we need to change needs awareness. And the other day, somebody asked me how long it took me. Well, as Alexa said, I was forced into being aware because I was in prison and
There was no choice.
There was no choice. It was either being aware of my situation and aware of my mind and my thought process, or lose my mind and go crazy, which Alexa was 15, and that was clearly not a choice to be out of my mind and never be there for her when this ordeal was done, was over. So I realized all the mistakes that I've made, and I realized was the first time I was able to stop and look inside. because I was forced to do it.
Okay, now I have a question.
Yes.
What were some of those things that, like, what were your problem areas, quote unquote? What did you feel that you had to change?
Oh, what I had to change was to shift my focus from the values that I thought were important to me.
Okay.
So since I was young, I wanted to be, since I ever remember actually, I wanted to be a successful businesswoman in New York. Note, I was born and raised in Romania back when it was a communist country. So I had no idea what a successful business person looks like in New York. So when I arrived in New York at 22, my image of success started to emerge and growth. And somehow my values were outside of me. Titles, recognition.
Okay, now let's hold on. Let's backtrack.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people may not know about your story, and they may not know, the whole background. So first and foremost, let's start from the beginning.
Let's start from the beginning. As I said, I came from Romania when I was 22 with big ideas. So I got married. We had Alexa, and at the same time started a business, went to school. I came here as a foreign attorney, and I had to go to school for the master's program for foreign attorneys in order to be able to sit for the bar. So I graduated Cardozo Law School, the LLM program. I had the credits and then I applied for the bar. Being English not being my first language, having a business, it took me 4 years, 8 tries to pass the bar exam. Then I became finally a New York State licensed attorney. And that's where my image of success was, now that I understand what values are, that image of success was wrong. I wanted a big office. I spent a lot of money on office space that I actually didn't need. And I worked and ran from one thing to another on the pursuit of more and more and more.
The endless hamster wheel.
The hamster wheel, the vicious cycle, without having time to stop and to actually realize what my why is.
Why?
Right.
Because you didn't know what you wanted. You were just working towards this imaginary dream.
Exactly. An image that I created of what success meant to me, which, again, I didn't have a clear why. Why did I want to be an attorney? Even maybe I wanted to become an artist, to be an artist. But when I graduated high school, my father said, no way, that's set against
a very typical Romanian way of,
no. Artist is not a profession. You need to have a profession. You need to earn money. You can't do that being an artist. So you go to law school. Okay. So let's say that this is how I got to law school. But then I arrived in New York and I continued in the same pattern without stopping actually to ask why. do I really want to be an attorney? Okay, I became an attorney. Why? What's the purpose? What's the value that I provide to people as an attorney? So what I needed to change, going back to your question, is I needed to change my values, and I needed to change, not to change because I didn't have a why. I needed to find a why.
Yeah. And then, get into the nitty gritty. Why are we here? And why is this podcast called How I Escaped Prison? Because there's a literal meaning. So, you tell.
So part of that image that I created was a grandiose idea of who I am. I am a great attorney. I am a business owner. I can do anything that I put my mind to. And in that grandiose idea, without having a clear why and clear values, I went into ways that were actually very kosher, meaning cutting corners, doing things that to streamline the business to bring more clients in. And combined with some other mistakes of, I would say, other people, I was charged with asylum fraud. And I truly, at that point, didn't believe that I was guilty of the charges that were brought against me.
Or at least not to the extent that they were brought up.
Not to that extent.
Right.
And then I chose my constitutional right to go to trial, not educating myself on the legal system in this country, the criminal legal system in this country. I was an attorney, but same as a doctor doesn't know everything in the medical field, same as attorneys don't know everything in the medical field,
In the
legal field.
Yeah.
I had a general practice, never practiced criminal law, but that did not excuse me from educating myself. And I chose to go to trial. And sure enough, the penalty trial was added, which is another charge to the initial charges, which were asylum fraud and false statements. That carried a minimum of 24 months. And following a 2-week trial, I was found guilty. And because I have dual citizenship, the judge thought that I'm a flight risk. The bail was revoked, and I was taken in MCC pending sentencing.
Yeah.
And I spent 8 months in MCC. MCC, if for whoever doesn't know, is the place where El Chapo was held at the same time I was there, and where Jeffrey Epstein passed away the following year. So that's the place where the infamous MCC. Right now it's closed. They closed it in 2020 due to unsanitary conditions.
Which says a lot. Yeah, and I think I've thought a lot about it, and I think somehow it was better that they took you in that day. As odd as that sounds, because I feel like it would have been so much harder on everybody if, you had to say goodbye and all, you had to prepare for prison. I mean, how do you even do that in the first place? Hello. I mean, I didn't even do that. I feel like it was just time for you to stir in your own fear.
Yeah.
You know, somehow you were just thrown in the lion's cage and you deal with it. You know,
Yes.
that was kind of the best thing for everybody in the situation.
Yes. And for me, I think it was the start of my spiritual journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I would not, somehow I feel that my higher power had to take over and save myself from myself.
Yeah, of course. I mean, especially in a place like that where all you have is yourself. I mean, you know,
all the time.
There's no distraction.
Yes, all the time in the world, I was forced to stop. I was
Right.
forced to stop. I was forced
To be with your own thoughts.
to be aware of myself
Yeah.
and to be aware of my the presence of a higher power. Because before, the values, I thought that those were the ones, and the titles and the recognition, I thought that those are the ones that keep me going and keep me, validated me, and because of who I was, that was the power. And when I went in, I realized that when I went in and everything was stripped from me.
Yeah.
And I didn't have literally anything. And when I thought that I lost everything, I realized that if I'm still breathing and I have my mind that I can control, that means everything.
Yeah, it means everything. It really does. Yeah.
So now let me ask you.
Oh no.
Why are you here with me?
So I'm here with you because I was forced. I'm kidding. I wasn't. Not yet. You know, obviously I had to go somehow in parallel to you through this experience and from obviously a different perspective, but still, I mean, you know, one morning you know, we went to school together because she had court in the same place where I had school, and we went to, you know, we left together in the morning. The next day, that was it. Goodbye. Everything that I knew was gone. And
your entire life was pulled from under your feet.
Yeah, I mean, upside down, inside out, everything was gone. And I actually want to start my side of the story from a few years prior, when you were taken for the Albany case. And so at the time, I was in middle school, and I was sitting here with my tutor at the time, and I was waiting. And nobody was home, so my tutor kind of stayed with me until, you know, I was waiting. And then my stepdad comes home, and he goes, coming, she has to go to Romania because your grandma's not feeling well. Okay. Sure. My tutor walks me to my dad's house. As well, whatever, I'm sort of, again, aloof. The next day, again, it happens. Still no mom, haven't heard anything. Okay. And again,
because we were talking on the phone a lot.
Yeah, we were all the time. We were saying something. We were very to me that nothing, you know, she didn't say anything. It happened. Then I went to Dad's house, and then the next day, so it was now the third day, I come home, and when I was coming home because I was alone. I was turning on the TV. And because we live in New York, we have a channel called New York One. It's the first channel on the cable. It's the news channel. And I go in the room. And I start unpacking, whatever. And I hear on the news, Dumitru, my last name. Because it was her last name at the time as well. I go, oh, that's funny. It must be whatever. Someone of the same name. I was very curious to see who it was. And I see we have this big TV, and I see my mom's mugshot just flash on the TV. Oh, okay. We're into that. Maybe since my grandma's okay. And my mom's face just plastered all over the TV. Wonderful. I mean, you can imagine, I have no idea what happened the rest of the day. But that's where my story started. So now we're back to after the trial. And I had been there to the trial for a few days. I had forced you to let me go because you didn't want to let me go.
Right. But you have to mention that this is a totally separate case than the one that was on TV.
Two separate cases. Anyway, yes. So for the trial, for the federal case, I had forced her to let me come to the trial. And yeah, so the trial was over. My mother is stripped away from me. Everything is gone, don't remember anything from those first few days. Nothing at all. How long was it that we didn't speak for?
I don't know, because as I mentioned in my book, because I wrote the book with my experience.
It'll be linked in the...
I had to.
It'll be linked down below.
I was lost in the system. They couldn't figure out the spelling of my name. At the time, I had two last names.
Very long last names, by the way.
And they couldn't figure out the spelling of my name. So that's the reason why I couldn't be searched in the system for them to put money on my so I can make a phone call. The fourth day, they let me call my attorney. And I believe, I don't know, the sixth day or something, I was able to call home and speak with you. Yes.
Yeah, and I just remember Sorina and I were outside and we were walking, and he answers the phone call and he goes, "It's your mom." And of course I started, and again, I don't remember much from those first few weeks, months, while. I don't remember much. Then slowly we started to get accustomed to. And after the sentencing and things like that, she was moved up to Danbury, Connecticut. And I remember the first time we went to visit you there, because in MCC, it was horrible. As a visitor, it was absolutely horrific. I mean, metal detectors, they were checking you everywhere. You had to be in a single file line. They were yelling at us as if we were inmates. I was horrified. And I made friends with one of the guards there, and she was super nice, and she spoke me out of it a little bit, and this is just, the way that things run here and whatever. So we go to Denver the first time we go to see you, to visit you. And we're coming to the hill. It was like a long driveway, a big long driveway, and it was empty, like, field. And building with 2 rows of fences and barbed wire, and so I said, "Oh my God, Mom is in a worse place now. This is even worse than MCC." And we get there, we go inside, shaking. What do I say? I don't know. And we go to visit this inmate and whatever. At that time, you had to say the number because they didn't recognize my name. And
prison your number.
Yeah. Male or female? I said, "Male." And it was called FCI. And I said, she's in FCI. And she goes, no, she's over there. Okay. So we went to the hill. So we were walking in as you were walking in too.
Yeah.
Pathways. She herself. No fence. No nothing. Change. I was thinking that she was in this big building. She was in fence around there.
Yeah. That's the camp. That's the camp. Yeah. Where you have no doors, no fence, no nothing. You can literally walk home. If you do it, you get another charge of escape.
Yeah.
It's another 5 years.
Good point.
But this is, if you would want to leave, you can leave at any time because there is no fence.
Right.
And in that entire camp was only one officer, which was in his office, usually didn't want to be bothered. And the camp was ran by Bennett. And it was growing up in Romania and going to the communist camps.
Summer camps.
Summer camps. To me, it was very similar. And the first email I sent them when I got there was that I'm in all-inclusive resort.
Yeah.
I got to a all-inclusive resort at the camp, and it was these big rooms with nothing much, and all the fearless cafeteria, and but gorgeous landscape.
Yeah, it was a nice area.
Which literally saved my life.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Yeah, and in the book, I tell the story of the transfer from MCC to Danbury, which is really funny. Can be a movie in itself, as similar to Con Air movie.
Yeah.
Except
you were on a plane.
I wasn't on a plane. From chains and shackles and handcuffs and locked in a van with 3 sets of gates. They take everything from us. They give us a bedroll, and since we were 3 people outside, we walk up the hill to the camp. And she bolted. So we were 3 of us looking at each other from chains, being in the middle of the street. So this is the federal camp, which is the lowest.
What do they call it?
The cupcake. Yes, because a lot of famous people.
Yeah, that too.
Famous people were there, and that movie, it was a series that just the New Blood was I don't know if it was based on that or it was filmed or
Piper. She was in Danbury.
in the book, yeah, I believe that's what it says. Yes.
So
yeah.
That's for sure.
A lot of famous people, and that's why. But it was very laid back and nice people and cool officers, and yeah,
as cool as they can be.
Well, you're in prison. Overall, I like to say, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I came to a point where I realized I can change the past.
You're right.
I'm here, and now, if you're in a situation that you don't like, you have 3 choices. You remove yourself from that, you change it, or you accept it fully.
Yeah. You only had one available.
I almost had the last choice.
Yeah.
Accept it fully. I couldn't myself from it. I couldn't change it. So it is what it is. I have to make my own magic and to work with my mind and to my inner self and higher power to keep my mind straight and come out on the other side sane.
All right. And at some point, you know, we had realized that there were a lot of things that just didn't make no sense. They didn't make sense. And there were just some things that one person would tell you one thing, another person would tell you another thing. And just say to each other, there's no point in trying to understand something that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That, I mean, what can you do?
Yeah. At that point, exactly.
Think about it. There were situations that you couldn't have.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. No sense. No sense. And again, trying to understand didn't help me.
yeah, you were just killing yourself.
Right. And it was just, how do I rebuild my life?
Right.
How do I take the positive out of this and make something bigger with a true purpose, helping other people, having a clear why of why I'm doing things.
Yeah.
And part of that why is this podcast, to share with you, the listeners, my story and our story, and how I was able to, as painful and long as it was,
Yeah.
I was able to overcome, and I feel blessed that I was forced into this.
Absolutely.
And because now the peace, I believe that happiness, a lot of people are asking me, what does happiness mean to you? Happiness to me means to be at peace.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm in peace with my life and my choices, then this is all that matters.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you didn't really have a choice.
Yeah. At that point, no, choices were made long ago. They were made, and this was the cause and effect.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything at that point. Just accept it fully and move on.
Even for me, who I didn't make any choices, I didn't, like, there was no cause and effect for me. It was just, I feel like to a certain point, I was refusing to process in a way, and I sort of just put my life on pause, which is the way that I sort of was able to self-preserve. And, you know, when she got out, I was just starting to, you know, turn around and be like, where have I been? where do I wake up? And I mean, even that helped me in that way, because I just sort of accepted and just, you know, continued on with my life. And it is what it is. And yes, the processing was difficult after, to, you know, return and process. But I think it was ultimately still for the better.
Yeah.
And during that time, my grandma had passed away. I had been living with her at the time. After you came home, then my grandpa passed away. Then my dad passed away last year, and it was just like the ball just never stopped rolling. Yeah. And by the way, my dad died in Danbury Hospital. So the first thing that I said, I was still frazzled from, you know, my dad passing away. And the second we left the hospital, I got in the car with my mom and I said, I am never coming back to Danbury, Connecticut ever again. I was so traumatized by this taking place. I didn't want anything to do with Danbury, Connecticut ever again. I know the idea now. But
Yeah.
yes,
Things happen for a
for
reason.
a reason, absolutely.
And somewhere, somehow, everything is connected.
Yeah.
We might not understand
But it's not our job to understand.
all the reasons. And
Yeah.
yes, we understand. Just accept fully
Right.
and move on.
Because at some point you will understand why certain things happen. Right? I think.
Yeah.
Personally, at least.
Yeah. But at this point, no need to waste the energy.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, there's no reason to understand something that doesn't make sense.
Any sense. Right. Just take what's good and move on.
Yeah.
Learn the lesson from what, because good and bad, who says, like Shakespeare said, there is no good, there is no bad. It's just our mind saying so.
Yeah.
We create our reality. So in prison, I created my magic. I created my reality. I saw the good in people and in everything around me. And this is what I'm here to continue doing.
Yeah. And even in that situation, for me, I found solace in creating clothes and in sewing and in fashion designing. So somehow, between our personal growth and our new endeavors and our new lines of business and our new passions, all of these things that had happened to us culminated in such a beautiful way. And now somehow we embrace those awful things that happened to us and we use it for good and for others, not only for ourselves. And I think that's part of peace. You know, it's hard to talk about the hard things if you haven't processed them and if you haven't healed from them. So it's really important to, you know, to process through your traumas and the bad things that happen in life. I mean, it's easier said than done to find the good parts in those things. Obviously, I mean, you know, it wasn't easy for us at some point as well. We had our ups and downs. But I think that the first step in the right direction is processing and understanding.
Yeah. And as our episode is called today, Discovering the Mental Prison, is being aware.
Yeah.
Being aware of where you stand, where we stand, where, because again, awareness and being aware and being willing to be aware of the situation makes it's half resolved. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And because we're reaching the end of the time, I would like to mention that the clothes that we're wearing and the clothes that we will wear throughout this podcast are made 100% by hand by Alexa, from design to pattern to sewing to all the little detail is done by her. And you will find her my website, her website, all of our information in the details below. We thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for listening to us.
And we'll see you next week. We're going to be here every Monday for you.
Thank you.